All right, this week we're going to start working on the buildings. So, and rest of the rooftops. So I have here burnt umber, titanium white, Payne's gray, burnt sienna, cadmium red medium. We're going to start with the one in the back here, this building here. This is the church steeple. I have two brushes, a bright and a round, and they're not too big, so I have control. I'm working on an 8x10, so I don't need big brushes. I'm going to start by putting the overall color, which is kind of a brown color, light brown. So I'm going to take burnt sienna and white, mix them. I don't need a dark color. And also with the corner of my brush, I'm going to grab a bit of burnt sienna as well, just to give it that warm reddish color. And I'm just going to see if this is a good. Okay, I can go a little bit lighter. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to start with putting an overall color. With a flat brush. And we will put a bit of detail later on. Now, this part of the building should be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to take a little bit more white. Not much, just a bit. And I'm going to put it here. Light is coming from the right hand side. Okay, this is good. Now, I'm going to take more white and work on this detail here where the window is. So this part is the same color, a little bit lighter. And also, there's another kind of, I mean, we don't have to put it, but it'll be nice if we add it. I'll show you. Just kind of do this for now. Bottom part. There's a ledge here. Just sometimes a little bit of a detail makes a big difference. Like that. Wipe my brush. I'm going to take more burnt umber with the round brush and just give a bit of a detail here. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate or exactly what you see there, just a tiny bit of detail. I'm grabbing Payne's Gray, and I'm going to put burnt umber in it. So it gives me like an almost black color. Now, when there's a detail like this where you see a dark window, I like to make them smaller. I don't like this dark opening, or it's not an opening, it's just kind of a dark wooden color. I like to make them small. Even if they're big, I make them smaller. Okay, it's good enough. Now, the next step, actually, I'm going to stop for a minute so you can catch up here, and then we'll continue. I'm going to pause. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take, again, some burnt umber and white. And eventually what we're going to do again is add some gray, Payne's Gray, and also some light burnt sienna. So let's see, with a round brush, you just need a value that's slightly lighter, and that's a good one, I think, or maybe a little bit more white. And with the round brush, I'm going to put kind of a suggestion of small stone work all around. I'm going to add, now this is just burnt umber and white. So eventually what I'm going to do is do the same thing with Payne's Gray and burnt sienna. Okay, now same. No need to wash your brush. Keep the same color on. Just add to your color Payne's Gray. So it will be like a light Payne's Gray that has a bit of brown in it. And we're going to go in, and it gives you that like light bluish hint in there. Gray blue. That's good. Now, same with the sienna color. Just add it to the same colors. We don't need to see it 100%, but it's there. It's a hint of a color, red color. And you're not going to see much of it unless, here, let's add a bit more. Okay, that's better. Okay. I'm going to take burnt umber and wet my brush so the burnt umber kind of like a glaze. I'm gonna let it dry. Maybe give it slightly lighter and narrower here. Let's go in a bit more. Okay, that's better. It was a little bit too much here. That's better. I just want to, create a very thin shadow. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right. Payne's gray, burnt sienna. A little bit of the white and brown together. Should be kind of on the reddish side. So if you lose the red because of the Payne's gray, add more burnt sienna in there. There's a rooftop here. I'm going to take now Payne's gray, mix it more with the burnt sienna, part of it, not too much, not the whole burnt sienna color, part. And come here and give the roof a little bit more detail. Maybe I should wait for it to dry. Okay, it's good. We don't want to see it that much. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? If you can't see it, it's not a big deal. Right, okay. We're going to move on to this one here. Which, if you look at your reference, this part of the reference is really messy. You can't tell what's happening in there because this is AI. So whoever worked on this was just kind of adding rooftops in a really kind of a messy way, but doesn't matter. We can fix that. So I'm going to take burnt umber, white, burnt sienna, a little bit of burnt sienna in there. We don't want it to be too light because this is in the back and we want to keep the light colors for the front, the houses in the front. So just kind of enough to give us a hint of walls in there. Okay, so now the more I go down, the darker this is going to be. So I'm adding a little bit more of the burnt umber. It doesn't have to be very strong, that dark in there. I can always adjust it. This is good. Right. I think I'm going to add a window in there. So I'm going to take burnt umber with a touch of Payne's gray, not much. We don't want it to be black, but we want it to be kind of a dark color. It's a hint. Should wait for it to dry before I do that, but I'm adding Payne's gray in here just to give it like a bit of a shadow in there, so it doesn't look flat. It looks like it's on an angle. Okay. One more detail, and then I'll pause. It's this window here, this side of the building. So this is more like a wall in here that has a roof. It's a window. Okay. Again, it doesn't have to look too detailed. This is just the buildings in the back, so we really don't want any detail in there. All right, that's good. I'm gonna pause. All right. Okay, now I put a bit of detail on this house. So in the reference, there's a kind of a dark detail of wooden slats in there. We can put them if we want, but let's put the windows first. So for the windows, instead of putting white trim, like a really strong white trim, I'm going to put a light color brown. So just burnt umber and white, because I find that this white trim in there is too strong. Take that, kind of putting a trim, just burnt umber and white. Those windows are on a slight angle. Okay. Payne's gray, burnt umber. You know, anytime you mix blue and brown, especially dark blue like burnt umber and let's say ultramarine blue, you'll get a really beautiful dark color, almost black. And we're going to give this window a bit of a dark color. Now let's take same burnt umber and Payne's gray, mix them. And put some wooden detail in there. This is not the focal point. Focal point in this in here is the road that's leading to all of that, all of this detail. Okay, let's leave it at that. Don't wanna put more detail. This is burnt umber and a little bit of white for the bottom. Let's add a bit of gray in there so it looks like it's part of the building. Okay, so the reason I made this house shorter than what you see in the reference is just because it cut. I want to make more of the street here wider, so I'm gonna shorten these windows again because I don't like dark openings like this, so it doesn't matter if we shorten that. I guess last week we mixed burnt umber and Payne's gray for this building, and white or titanium buff. I'm just finding it a little bit too dark, and I'm going to take advantage of that to make the windows narrower. Okay, just kind of make it a little bit more interesting there. Okay, all right, that's enough. Now I'm going to switch to the wider brush take burnt umber, white, and put a layer of burnt umber and white. And it doesn't have to be dark. So before we put all of the detail of the stone that you see, we're just going to put a tiny bit of detail, a layer of color here. Okay. All right, this is good. We're starting to see something in there. Some kind of structure. All right, I'm going to pause. Okay, let's continue. We're going to work on these rooftops in here. So let's finish this part and then we move on to this. Let's work on the left-hand side. So for the rooftop here, I'm going to take a combination of both burnt umber and burnt sienna. Let's put a tiny bit of, little bit, with the corner of my brush, a little bit of Payne's Gray. Okay, let's do that. For this rooftop over here, the one further down, I'm going to wipe my brush. No need to clean your brush with water, just wipe it. Add more burnt sienna and just put some more burnt sienna and burnt umber, but with more burnt sienna showing right here, like this. Now with the same burnt sienna I'm using, just let's see without white. Yeah, maybe without white. Just put a bit of detail in here. Just kind of just to get rid of the strong dark in there. Just like that. All right, I'm going to do the same with the one underneath right here. So a little bit more of the burnt umber now. So we can see the difference between the both rooftops because they're going to connect if we don't. So I'm adding burnt umber and touch of Payne's Gray in here with the burnt sienna. So it's burnt sienna, burnt umber, but more of the Payne's Gray. This way, I can have two kind of rooftops where they're right next to each other, connecting, but you can see them at the same time. You can still see the difference. You can see each one of those rooftops. All right, now. Okay, let's take just burnt sienna, nothing else, and add it here again as kind of a little bit of a detail. That's just burnt sienna. All right, good. Now, I'm going to take the same colors, burnt umber and Payne's Gray, and it's mixed here with a bit of burnt sienna. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a little bit more burnt sienna in here. No, I'm sorry, not burnt sienna, Payne's Gray. Mix it with the dark color that I have. And just darken this one here, so we can see it. Okay, now I have the colors in. I'm going to take burnt umber and white, mix them, and I'm going to add burnt sienna to this. I want to highlight my burnt sienna, but I don't want to highlight it with white because it turns pink. It turns actually skin tone. So I'm adding burnt umber and white, and I'm just mixing burnt umber and white, and I'm adding the burnt sienna to it. And now I can go in, just give this rooftop a bit of detail. I don't want to do the same detail that is in there. It's in there already. It's a bit too much. I'm just going to add a hint of tiles in here. And also in here, kind of like a dry brush. You're welcome to do any detail you like in there. Okay. Highlighting the edge a bit. Good. Okay, now I'm still working with dark colors, so I'm just going to continue. Burnt umber. Payne's gray. So in here, we're going to be working with the same colors, but with different values. There will be a little bit more detail in here. It's just because it's close to us. So it's nice to add that kind of extra detail. Now, this is burnt umber and Payne's gray, but it's not a lot of Payne's gray in here. It's more of the burnt umber. So what I'm going to do is add more Payne's gray now with less burnt umber because I want to go in here and make this look darker. Different ratio, same colors, different ratio. Less water. I cleaned my brush, put burnt umber on it and a bit of the Payne's gray. And just give this part, it's like a glaze. This is the shadow of the rooftop on the building. So we don't have the color yet of the building, but we will put it eventually. So this is just kind of the shadow of the building. I'm sorry, the shadow of the roof. Okay, so now I'm going to take burnt sienna, mixing it a bit with the dark color I have here. And I'm just going to put burnt sienna over here. I think this is dark, kind of dry, so I can work on the detail a bit. So I'm going to take burnt umber. I'm going to put white in my burnt umber, a little bit of white. Wipe my brush. And I'm going to highlight here, this part. If I find after I highlight that the color is too gray, then I can glaze it. With burnt umber only. I think it's okay. So all I'm doing is I'm just changing my values in the same colors. I'm not adding anything new. I'm just kind of going dark, light, medium, mid-tone, highlight. So it's all the same, but this way I am creating a bit of a detail in the rooftop. Burnt umber, Payne's gray, there. Burnt sienna and white, and a bit of burnt umber in it. There's burnt sienna and white in here. I'm giving this part of the roof a bit of highlight there. I'm going to do the same. Burnt sienna white, a bit of burnt umber. Same thing over here. You know, that's why I said at the beginning that this is going to get a little bit more detail because this is close to us. And the more detail you put here, the nicer it looks. All right, so while I'm doing this, we're in the right colors now. All right, let's take burnt umber. And then I'll pause. White. So it's going to give me a kind of a light color. Brown. A little bit darker. I'm going to pause. Okay, now let's work on this building. So I'm going to take burnt umber, a little bit of white, and I'll put one long, narrow line right there. Now I'm going to add more of the white part in the burnt umber. Okay, first step, there's a step here, and you'll see it in a minute, right there. And there's another one here. Now, I'm going to take burnt umber with Payne's gray. put the side of the step, the first step right there. And the second. In the reference, there's another step overlapping with these two. So we really don't need to do that. We can just kind of keep these two together like that, and it'll be fine. Because we're going to be putting stuff here, and we're going to be putting, like, you know, some details right there. So it will disappear. Now I'm going to switch to the wider brush. I'm going to grab some burnt sienna, burnt umber, a little bit of white, so more on the reddish side, brown, red brown, try to put some color here. More like dabbing. Now I do have the red in here, so I'm going to grab this red and add it to the colors I'm using. Just burnt sienna, bit of burnt umber, and I'm going to add this red right now. I know we're not done with this house, but that's okay because we're still working here. But I'm going to get this detail going. Let's add some white in there. Just too dark. I like this red here. It just gives it a bit of attention. You know, your eye goes to this color when you're looking at the painting. It might be a little bit too pink, so I might change it into, once it's dry, into more of the orange. But for now, let's just kind of put this color on, and we'll figure it out later. Because we could always add any color we want on top. Okay. Clean my brush. I'm going to take burnt umber, white, just burnt umber and white. I'm going to be working on this building again, right there. I'm just dabbing on this light color. I think I should use a smaller brush. Just use a round one. I want texture in here. Yeah, that's better. It's always harder just to work with the light color first. You lose a lot of detail or texture when you work with a light, very light color at first. At the beginning of the, all right, this is good. This is burnt umber and white. It's good that it has a bit of the burnt sienna at the bottom, because you can see I'm leaving some of that burnt sienna showing through. Burnt umber. More like a glaze. And now I'm going to take burnt sienna, a little bit of white, burnt umber, wipe my brush. A little bit of texture in here. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Now, with the same burnt umber, just burnt umber, I'm going to add a window round brush. And I'm going to add a hint of a window here. In the reference, there's another one down here. It's like a basement window. Sometimes I follow what's in the reference because I like the detail, and sometimes I don't. It depends if I like the detail. Let's add a hint of something in here. Adjust the steps. Looks like the step, the step underneath, the first step is wider. And again, I am doing this following the reference because I like the detail. Otherwise I won't. Now, one more thing to do. This side needs to be a little bit darker. The side of the roof right here. Just to give the roof thickness. Otherwise it looks too thin. And I'm going to highlight it a bit. Honestly, it's not an important detail. So if you do not want to put it, that's fine. No problem in there. Okay. I'm going to stop. Next week we'll continue. We might have to highlight it a bit next week, especially this side of the wall. Actually, I'm going to do a bit now since I have the colors. White, burnt sienna, just kind of a bit of highlight in here. It will dry darker. And next week, by the time we come back, and if I find that this is looking too pink or not the right shade of color that I want, that's okay. I can always work on it a bit and give it adjust the color and the shade. Again, it will dry darker, and if it doesn't, by the time it dries, if it's not dark enough, I can always glaze it. One more step. It seems I lost this shadow here. There. Okay. Okay. We're good for this week. Next week we will continue with the rest of the architectural detail.